Welcome back to Ambitious, Awakened, and Aligned, the space where soul meets strategy and leadership becomes an act of energetic creation. Today, we're exploring what happens when joy becomes not a destination, but a frequency, one that fuels resilience, clarity, and sustainable success. My guest is Nicole Van Valen, the visionary behind Keane Insights and the joyful leader. Nicole blends decades of experience in leadership, psychology, and human performance with her signature message: resilience through joy. Together, we'll explore how to redefine ambition, lead from alignment, and create a rhythm of leadership that sustains both impact and joy. So excited to welcome Nicole to today's podcast. Welcome, Nicole, to Ambitious, Awakened, and Aligned, and thank you so much for being here.
Oh, thank you for having me. I'm excited to have this conversation with you and your guests.
Yeah, it's so funny. We Before we popped on the podcast, Nicole's coming to us from beautiful sunny Florida, and I'm sitting here in snow-filled Ontario, Canada right now. And I love, one of the things I think I love the most about the podcast is that the conversations we're having are geography agnostic. This is rippling out across the world in ways that your voice needs to be heard from people who need to hear it. And so I love this. Nicole, we're going to dive right in. You have had a rich and varied journey. You've been a therapist, an executive leader, a founder, and now the joyful leader. What inspired you to anchor your work in all of that experience you've had around this concept of resilience through joy?
Growing up, I always had this issue. And the issue is I have this uncontrollable laughter sometimes at the most inappropriate times. Like the first thing I remember is being in school. I had a civics teacher, Mr. Siegel. He was hilarious. And he would tell jokes and I would have to go outside. So I don't remember anything about civics. When I come back in, I look at his face and it would start all over again and then I'm back outside.
Mhm.
So this has been something that has traveled throughout my whole entire life personally and in the workplace. And I realized that joy was my superpower. Like this inner laughter, it's something that comes from within. It's not something that's outside of you. Like, when you think of happiness, something great happens, you get a promotion, someone smiles at you and you feel good, and then it's kind of fleeting. But harnessing this joy, this energy internally has helped me navigate my entire life.
Mhm.
And I realized, you know what? I want everyone to feel this internal joy and not only feel it, but learn how to harness it, how to utilize it to fuel anything that you wanna do, and in my private practice in the past as a licensed marriage and family therapist, we noticed some things that my clients did that them resilient, and some things that I did that kept me resilient. And who would have thought my background as a Miami Dolphins cheerleader and a Miami Heat dancer and being an assistant coach for my college team and for the Heat, that could turn into a three-step model that
Mm.
helped me and can help other people retain joy, even in the most difficult of situations where they still need to perform. So
Mhm.
this is how it all came about. It more from how I am naturally, the essence of who I am, into how I sustain myself and climbing the corporate ladder to now being able to give back to the community and other people and leaders to help them figure out what brings them joy and how can they fuel that, implement that in their culture, at work or in home, and meet their goals. So that's I don't know if I answered your question, but that's
It's
how it
a
evolved.
beautiful answer. And also, right now in this very moment, watching you speak, listening to you speak, however people are experiencing us right now as they listen to this conversation, You exude joy. And I really want people to pause in that because we talk a lot on this podcast about frequency. And the
Mm.
frequency is the magnet. And very quickly asking you one question. I could actually picture you as a little girl just like giggling. And and as you said, like as a cheerleader and those other things, that is the feeling of what people want to experience from you. And I just want to make sure people caught that before we keep going in our conversation. That magnetizes people to you. So let's dive in to the three-step process. Do you want to give us an overview of what that looks like?
Yes, I would love to. So it's called the Ready, Set, Go model. And it's one, you get ready. And this is when you figure out what it is that brings you joy. And then two, you get set. And this is when you bring your re energized self because you're in your joy moment into your workplace or into your home. And you can work together with teams, with other people, be innovative, be creative. And this joy kind of it's contagious and it spreads to others so that you are having elevated conversations and it's a lot of fun while you're doing the hard work together.
Mm,
And then you go and deliver on your goals, whatever that may be. So if that's personal goals that you want for yourself, if it is corporate goals, when you work in an environment, there's a 5 to 10 year plan, and you can align your goals personally and professionally with the organization's goals. And when you're able to follow this 3-step model, you're able to be more successful in your overall life.
mm,
When I use this model, not this every day.
mm,
Sometimes today, because anytime there's a change or a challenge and I'm feeling stressed, or if I've let myself get to the point of feeling burnt out, which happens,
mhm,
but that's the point of this model, then I feel stuck. And then I'm like, oh my gosh, I identify that I'm stressed and burnt out. And then I remember this model.
mhm,
It's about to be peer reviewed research. And because I'm a nerd, undercover sometimes. And then I go do it when I remember that I'm stressed or I've identified that I'm stressed. And sometimes that's the hardest thing to even realize that you're kind of stressed. I tell this story all the time where, well, I was a dancer, right? And then, the bones aren't the way they used to be, the knees and all that stuff. So created other joys in my joy menu. So now it's gardening. And there was one time when my daughter came outside and I was pruning my roses because I love roses. They smell, especially ones that smell really, really good. I make sure they smell good. And that's my respite. When she came out there and she said, Mommy, you look really happy.
mm,
And then I thought to myself, wow, I didn't even know I was unhappy. When
mhm,
she brought that contrast to me, and that's when I realized that we really have to be intentional about when we're stressed and identifying it, and also intentional about when we want to remove that stress, replacing it with something positive in your life, because that stress will just come right back if we don't replace it.
mhm. You said so many things packed in that answer. The joy menu. What is the
Mm.
joy menu?
The joy menu is awesome. Okay, so the joy menu is this is a preventative tool that you can create. I mean, I have a worksheet, of course, I have it, and it's in my book, but it's basically you come up with what brings you joy. Like, not what other people want you to do,
Mm,
not what's demanded of you, not other people's joys that they want you to do with them. Your own individual joy that when you do it, it puts you in a completely different headspace.
mm,
It you just feel like you're in your own secure bubble and you do that and it just feels like time stands still while you're doing that activity. So for me, it's chai tea. So, and I've told my family because
mhm,
I have a home office. So at 5 o'clock, I would like to get up from my desk, walk over to the kitchen. No one say anything to me. I don't care if you see me. Pretend you don't see me. And I make my chai tea because I got a little machine for Christmas. It's amazing.
mm,
Walk back to my office, close the door. Sometimes I must lock it
mhm,
and sit there. I have a couch. I'll sit there for 15 minutes and slowly drink the tea. And I try to clear my mind, feel the sensation, just get all of the senses flowing. When I tell them, you'll be happier because you'll have a happier mommy and wife. I will be happier and we'll figure out what's for dinner. Like, we're going to be okay. But just give me that 15 minutes. So for me, that's what's on my joy menu, 15 minutes. You can do a 30-second breathing exercise if you only have 30 seconds. If you have a half a day, you can figure out what you want to do for that half a day, whatever it is for you. Because I can tell you, Lori, when I decided it was COVID time, I was like, okay, we need to figure out what we're gonna do. We have to have activities. Everybody up at 7 a.m. We're gonna do yoga together as a family. It's 5 of us. And we're gonna do this and that. And you don't even like yoga, right? But I'm like, this is what they say you should do.
Mm,
And the kids are like, you know what? I don't want to do this. And I'm like, I don't want to do it either. I don't even like it. And they're like, I don't like it either. So everyone figured out what their own joys were.
mm,
My daughter at the time was in high school. She ordered, online things to draw with. The
mm.
boys had their video games, so they were playing video games with friends long distance in different states. My husband likes board games. Like I said, I'm an undercover nerd. He's way undercover nerd. He'll play board games by himself.
Wow.
Yeah, he's doing that. I'm walking the dog around the block or I'm in the back with the garden. So we discovered that we all like different things and then we will come together for dinner or play a board game together or watch a movie together. But we still went into our own separate quarters to do our individual things and we were all re-energized to be able to come together as a family.
I love that as a descriptive, presentation also of the ready from the Ready, Set, Go, because
Mhm.
I think about it was flashing in my mind when you said that people that looked like took that lens in COVID of what is something that can fill me up, which
Mhm.
I would say is joy. What is something that can uplift me personally, not just the people around me? Those were the people that really like elevated and learned more about what resilience could look like during that time versus those that looked at it through a different lens. So, what a great description of that. The ready part, as you were describing it, I'm going back a little bit, but I was thinking as you were saying ready, set, go. I feel like the set, go part are easier for especially high achieving women and leaders. The ready part though, are you finding that people have a hard time sort of knowing what that part looks like and how do you navigate the ready part?
Yes. So I remember speaking at a retreat for leaders, and the CFO came up to me during a break and said, you know what? I haven't felt joy in months.
Mhm.
Like she couldn't even figure out what that was. She even said, you know what? My joy is strategy. Is that okay? And I said, you know what? I love strategy too, all day long, but let's try to think of something else
Yeah.
outside of work that brings you joy. And she had such a difficult time.
Mm,
Then there was the CEO, she overheard the conversation and she said, "You know what? I love drawing. I haven't done that
mm,
since I was in college." And she said, "My 7-year-old, she loves drawing. I am going to take us to an art class together. That's what we're going to do." Two high achieving women, a
mhm,
CEO and a CFO, one knew what to do and could identify something that brought her joy. The other had a hard time and needed to dive into the ready a little bit
mm,
more. And
mhm,
so the question is, I would ask, what did you like to do when you were little?
mhm,
That takes us out of this adulting phase where, serious and we have to be like this to when you were free, when you felt
mm,
free, what did you really like doing?
mhm,
So if I were to ask my parents, Nicole, what did Nicole like to do when she was little?
mm.
They would say I was dancing around and I was singing around, singing badly because I still do karaoke very badly, but I love it. And
Yeah.
so start to and if you can identify it, ask
Mhm,
people around you that have known you in different phases of your life when you were younger, when you were in high school, when you were in college, in different work environments. outside of work when you're socializing? Like, what are some of the things that lights you up? And sometimes we have to go really introspective to figure out what that is.
Mhm. It's so true. I've been recently trying to find a few of those myself because as a recovering corporate leader, I remember a stage that doesn't feel that long ago where I would say, it really brings me joy to go back in my office and do some business strategy. So I'm like, yeah, I kind of resonate with your CFO. And I really had to dig deep with myself and say that isn't actually you may really enjoy it, but that's different than this deep level of joy. And so recently, my daughter was celebrating her 29th birthday, and I said, "Why don't we go to this paint event?" And it wasn't like I knew that was going to bring me joy, but that creative side that I would have tapped into when I was younger. I loved to do all sorts of like arts and crafty things. We had so much fun. And it
Yes.
just tapped into this place that almost felt like it's been hidden a little bit. And so I
Mhm.
think that's where your work is helping, I would actually say awakening people to that possibility. And so you did also mention your book. Can you
Oh,
share with us your book, please? Yes.
okay, here it is. The Joyful Leader. And it has a phoenix on it. And it's golden to remind us that we're golden.
Mm,
And then the colors under here all have meaning of how we elevate ourselves through different feelings and emotions. So in the book, in the beginning, it describes the colors. So we all are made up of different emotions. So we could have red for anger. What is orange? There's oh no, red for rage, orange for anger, yellow is that happiness, unhappiness going back and forth. The green is the joy. The
mm,
purple is like the blue is bliss and the purple is beyond bliss. And then it goes into the black where that's that meaning of love, that unconditional love. So it all has meaning behind it. And when we look at ourselves holistically and our experiences, if we blend it so beautifully, all of the things we perceive as negative, all of the things we perceive as positive, it makes us who we actually are in our essence. And I have to say, this title, The Joyful Leader, going back and forth with my publisher and editor, I had such a difficult time
mm,
because for so long I thought in order to be taken seriously, I had to hide the joy in my leadership.
mm,
But what I and especially being a dancer and cheerleader, that was hidden until the 2 worlds collided at one time, and I
mm,
realized that people were okay with me being a cheerleader and an executive, or a dancer and an
mm,
executive. Um, and even this name, I thought people wouldn't take me seriously in the corporate world with the book Joyful Leader, but what I'm finding is it's a differentiator.
mhm,
It's the joy that has, kind of allowed people to be joyful themselves. So I found it really interesting how it all came together, and that it's okay for me to be my authentic self. It's okay for me to start meetings with C-suite and high-level leaders with a dad joke. Like that's what I would use. That's what I would do. And and I'm bringing up COVID, but I remember when COVID came out, people were really isolated, they were lonely, and I was working for a healthcare company at the time, and we wanted to come up with this new product. Um, well, actually, it was a free service, but it turned into a product. But to give for the community where, we did some support groups for people and things like that, and so I'm bringing all these people, communications, marketing, actuarial, financial, all of these people to create this product, and I would start the meetings with a dad joke. You wanna hear what the joke was?
yes, I do.
My favorite
Everyone
one.
wants to hear the dad joke.
I mean, I have in the book, each chapter starts with a dad joke, but
Oh,
I'll
that's
explain mine here.
amazing.
Yeah. But it has strategy behind it because I love strategy, but the joke is, how many wait, how many tickles does it take to make an octopus laugh?
8? No.
10 tickles, like
Oh,
10 10 tickles?
Yeah, it's bad.
It's pretty bad, right? Oh my gosh, I almost snorted. That means it was funny. This
Team
joke, and
friend on that one.
my colleagues are like, "Nicole, the joke's not even funny. It's just you saying it wrong or
Yeah,
laughing."
yeah.
But I would tell them, when we come together to create this product, we're all coming from different places of expertise, and they could be perceived as silos, like tentacles. But we are a whole octopus coming together to create this product to help people in the community. So I use it as, for the serious minded ones, they were like, "What is the point of this joke?" and very serious. Other people laughed, some laughed on the inside, but when I talked about the strategy and why I said it, then everyone was on board. Then, it just the dynamics of the room and the energy of the room shifted.
Mm,
There was a level of trust because people laughed. And it was like, you know what? Yes, we're doing serious, important work for people's mental health and well being, but we're having fun. And
mhm,
to have people say on the team, we did this thing, we created this product, we're helping people, and we had fun while we did it.
mhm.
To me, that's my badge of honor when I work with a team cross functionally and they say we had fun while we created something really important, but I know we did the best thing that we could possibly do.
Yeah, and I think there's so much heaviness in the world. This is vital to, I think, the future of success is understanding both end that not they can both coexist, and it's so vital to, people want, I think there's so many people that have woken up recently and just saying, what's it all for? And in the end, it's all for joy, which is why I think that is such a key differentiator and why I was so drawn into your work. I love the joyful leader part of it because it could be perceived as an oxymoron, and yet it
Mhm.
should be something that we're working towards deep alignment with. And so, with the book, you have a beautiful, generous gift for our audience today in something that aligns deeply to the book. So, share that with us, Nicole. I'm so
Yeah.
excited about this.
Yeah, so like Lori was saying, we are basically building a joy movement. Like, could you imagine if everyone taps into the joy that's inside of them internally and we share that as we move around in our daily lives? How impactful that will be and how that would lift the energy all around us. So for the free, well, I don't like to say free. I'll say for the complimentary gift that we have for you with my company, Keen Insights, it is the Sphere of Resilience Assessment. So
Mm.
this is an assessment that looks across 10 different domains. I think I did it because of the
There's
tentacles.
something with the 10. We're back to the dad joke, everybody.
10 different areas. So anything from financial resilience, emotional resilience, mental resilience, like all different 10 different areas looking at yourself. You can take this assessment. It takes less than 2 minutes. You'll get an immediate percentage score of areas that you have a lot of strength in so that you know this is the area where you can support others that may need your assistance. And then it gives you a percentage of the areas that you have a gap in. And then those are the areas where you might need additional support. And all the answers to that support are in here with a whole bunch of toolkits and everything that you would need to help you elevate yourself even further. And a lot of times when I do the keynote presentations or we do some workshops, there's this healthy competition. Everyone's like, what score did you get? And what did you get? But the number one thing is after they leave a keynote presentation, they walk away with one thing that they're going to do in the next 30 days based on that score. And usually they will share it with someone because once you say it out loud, then it's like real.
Mhm.
And they would jot that down. And so it's an actionable thing that you can put into play. And I remind people, whatever that thing is, go and put it on your schedule today. So it's not overshadowed by other things that people want you to do. It's your respite, it's your thing that you are going to do that'll keep you energized so that you can sustain yourself that day, that week, the month, the year. This is vital and really important to your health and well being. So that's the free gift or complimentary gift that you get to have. And You will get to keep doing it. I recommend you do it quarterly. You can even do it monthly and chart where you are based on what's going on in your life and the areas that you need to pay attention to. And the areas you get to celebrate that you have a high score in too.
That's phenomenal. Thank you so much for sharing that. Resilience and joy are two very, critical things to really make sure that you're deeply in alignment with understanding. So we appreciate that. I think that what I really, the era of the guru is gone. And so the people that I know have such a dramatic impact in the world are those who have walked a journey that they can now come out with something and share. And so your joyful leader, the experience that you've had with joyful resilience, I think comes from your own personal experience of burnout and things that you have walked through. So I would love for you to share a little bit about what did that burnout look like for you? What did you take away from? Again, your essence is so filled with joy, but tell us what that experience was like and what brought you back to the joy being so meaningful.
Yeah, so I would say I had been in toxic work environments
Mm.
for a long time.
Nobody
And
listening understands that.
no one. I'm the only one
Yeah,
in the whole world.
the whole world.
I say that, I always see head nodding. And for me, I didn't even realize I was in a toxic environment
Mm,
for a long time. I thought something's wrong with me. I am going to work harder. I'm going to try hard. I'm going to get up really early. Um Work long hours. My daughter thought that I never when she was little, thought that I never went to sleep. 'Cause I'd put her to bed, get on the computer, wake her up of just getting off the computer. So she didn't see the times when I went to sleep. So I thought if I just tried harder, tried harder, tried harder, I thought, oh, it's it's my manager, it's my team. Let me move over to a different team. Oh, no, it's the department. Let me move to a different department. Oh, no, it's the company. Let me move. So I was constantly looking, and yes, they do impact us, but then I was looking for something sustainable
mm,
that you have an area of control over because there's so many things we can't control. So I said, let's look at some things that we can control regardless of the environment I'm in, because sometimes you're in an environment when you notice that it's toxic, but you may not be able to get out of it right away. Or maybe getting out of it is not the answer, and there's some internal work that we need to do. So I think the number one thing was identifying being in a toxic environment, or even looking back at other environments, maybe outside of work that were toxic to me or toxic relationships, and finding a model that works regardless of where you are. Regardless of how much time you have, you can do something in like 3 deep breaths, and it can re-energize you, and you can have a way of thinking that can get you moving regardless of what's around you. So I think for me, it was toxic work environments
mhm,
and trying to figure out what to do.
mm,
And what what wrote this book, I had stacks and stacks of 3 by 5 cards
mm,
of things that I wrote to myself, like, okay, I want a raise. This is how I need to approach that with this manager, or I need
mm.
whatever it was. I had notes, like cue cards. Okay, I'm going to say this
Love that.
to make things better. And thought all of those notes would turn into a book so that I can help other people not have to go through what I went through, or to be able to identify that you're stressed or burnt out and do some things that are preventative instead of thinking this is what life is. I'm just going to have to deal with it, be miserable, be resilient in the old way of thinking of resilience of being burnt out and push through it.
Mhm,
There's another way that you can actually be joyful, and you can recover from the trauma and
mm.
recover forward and actually positively impact other people around you because it becomes contagious and
Mhm.
infectious. And people want to be the right people want to be around you as you move
Absolutely.
forward. Yeah.
Yeah, and what I'm really hearing you say too, and I think it's so important for people to hear is it's a choice. And
Hmm.
so when we put the choice in our own beingness, then that automatically elevates joy just by recognizing it's, the victim above the line, below the line, but also it's not outside there. It's inside here. And that perspective shift is so important. You also talk about and write about, I've read this in your work, that I think we think joy is like this fleeting emotion. I think we've linked it too much to happiness, and they're actually not at all the same thing. Happiness can be a fleeting emotion. Joy is this deeper choice, I think it was what I'm hearing you say. And it so instead of it being this fleeting emotion, it's actually this daily resonance or essence. And so like how do you help people practice that connection to it not being a fleeting emotion, it actually being a practice for them? How do you
Right.
get people there?
Right. So I think the very first thing is to recognize when you don't have it.
Mm.
Because sometimes we're going through the motions and we're just thinking this is the way life is. And you're not, and
Like in those toxic environments, like you were talking about, sort of like, "Oh, well,
exactly.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah. Oh, well, I'm going to have to say this way. But
right."
when we open up space
Mm,
for people to give themselves permission
mhm,
to do something that's joyful for themselves and not feel guilty, like a lot of moms, they feel guilty or feel like they have to ask for permission
mhm,
to be able to open up some space. So I would say, let's open up
mm,
space for 60 seconds. Give yourself 1 minute to do some deep breathing.
mhm.
Even today, preparing for different, I had to, today I had to do some things because last week I was at a conference and I love being with people, but then you come back and you have all these cards and then you have to, you know, reach out and do all the things. And, that's
Yeah.
the most fun to do all of the data entry and all of that
Mhm,
stuff when I do it. And so I had to just sit down, close my eyes
mm,
and take 3 deep breaths and opened my eyes and I was completely re-energized. And it actually felt fun to not talk to anyone and like just type away and send some emails and prep for some calls. I was like, oh, I turned it into before I'd be like, oh, I don't really like doing this to, oh, you know what? This is actually kind of peaceful.
mm,
And then when I was done with that, I'm like, "Ooh, get to talk to Lori today. So I get to go back into my groove of, connecting with someone and helping to spread this joy movement,
mm,
collaborating together to do that. So you can have these ebbs and flows. And how can you think positively about the things that so that it turns from, oh, I have to do this to, oh, I get to do this now.
mm,
And even when I was eating lunch, saying to myself, so I was eating lunch and then I was fooling with my phone. I was like, you know what? I'm gonna just do one thing at a time.
mm,
I'm actually just going to eat.
mhm,
So I did the thing. I closed my eyes and said, you know what? I'm just gonna focus on eating.
mm,
And it was so calming and so relaxing. So that's my new thing is just, okay, I'm gonna pay attention and be present and do the one thing. Because multitasking, it sounds fancy, like multitasking, but it's not. It's not good.
Well, I think the multitasking is part of that whole hustle and grind culture, right? The more that I can pack into an hour worth of my day, the more successful that I will prove that I am. And so like I just see the joy movement as we're at this it's almost like we're at this crossroads in time where we know the old hustle grind culture is not working. We know it has to go away, and yet our nervous system still feels safe within it because we've come from some of these toxic environments, many of us as leaders. And yet we see this, it's like we see the other road is joy. That seems like a really great movement. How do I create safety in moving towards that movement and knowing that I won't lose my edge. That's a lot of what I hear is if I go down that path and I'll be, like, super vulnerable in saying, "I've had those own thoughts myself." It's like, "Ooh, if I move away from the hustle and grind culture, and I step into joy and fulfillment and ease and flow as a movement, am I gonna lose my edge?"
That is so interesting because I felt the same way. Like,
Mhm,
would I lose my edge? Would I be taken seriously?
mhm,
I found the opposite.
mhm,
When you are preventative and you tap into that joy,
mhm,
and you can do that on the side, no one has to see it.
mhm,
You do that's your prep work. Then, that's the ready. What
mm,
that actually does is gets you in this calm state. So when you're in this calm state, you're more innovative, you can think sharper. Do you remember, like, if you're just driving or walking or taking a shower, you're not in front of your computer and you have all of these innovative ideas for
yeah,
work and you're like, "Where's my pad?" Like, I'm gonna get this thing. It happens all the time because you're in this rest state.
mm,
You're in this flow state. However, if you are and you're in an expanded state, if you're in this compressed muscle grind state, you're on edge. Anything that happens just makes you irritated. Anything that disrupts what you're doing, you're like, I have no time to talk to you. I'm trying to get this done. And you're totally serious and you're like this, and you're stressed out and you have, muscle pains and ache pains in your shoulder. All of that stuff is happening to you. There's no innovation there.
mm.
No one really wants to be around you when you're in that state. I know people don't be around me. I'm in that state. It's like the hankering state almost. And so it actually, when you give yourself permission and space for the joy,
Mm,
things you get things done faster. You're like, how did you get all that done? Well, I was in the flow,
mhm,
but took the time to take care of myself,
mhm,
to prep myself to get into that flow. And when I forget to prep myself,
mm,
I forget to drink my chai tea slowly
mhm,
without multitasking. The day is not the best day, or I don't do my meditation in the morning, or I think
mhm,
I'm going to do it late. All the things that I do to prep my joy for the day
mhm,
is really essential. And it's
mhm,
the thing that fuels me, that gives me that edge, is my differentiator.
mhm.
If I go the old route, then I'm going into that blame game. I'm stressed. It's everyone's fault that I'm miserable, So it might be other people's fault too, but what can I take control over,
Yes.
to make a difference?
Yeah. It's interesting too because, I don't know if you've heard of The Book of Joy? The
Mm,
Book of Joy. It's, Desmond Tutu and I'm gonna forget right now, but it's called The Book of Joy, and my husband actually first read it probably a decade ago, and he said, "You must read this book."
mm,
And it was these 2 leaders who come from different religious backgrounds and talking about their friendship and joy through a different lens than I think we think about joy often. And you've highlighted this for us today is that joy is not some fluffy kind of thing that you're flitting about and it's all in and to not be disrespectful but like that woo woo thing that a lot of people say it's the woo woo world or the real world. Woo woo is super important too based on our conversation. However, they were saying suffering creates joy as well because without us seeing suffering, without us going through toxic environments like you describe, that helped you not just resonate with joy, but also have this deeper desire to create it as a movement because you could see both ends. You could see that through suffering, we have the opportunity to see joy. And so I also think it's an important lens for us to understand that when we put ourselves out there and we risk and we try new things and we stand on the edges that we talked about, sometimes that can feel really hard and that can feel like suffering. And from that is born joy because we grow and we stretch and we transform and we learn and we grow and all those wonderful things. So, I think it all goes together, right? Yeah.
I think it's a wonderful to be able to see the two sides of things
Mhm.
and not get too bogged down in the emotions of the trials and tribulations and not get
Mhm.
too bogged down into the joys, the bliss, and all of that. It's like
Mm.
bringing those together. And then you have like, you're kind of like walking this razor's edge
Mm.
where you can go through life and your experiences and you're more, I talk about it like when you think of a snow globe and you shake it up and the snow and the glitter's going frantic all over the place, but that figure in the middle is standing still.
Mm.
That's where that leader is on that razor's edge. So no matter what's happening, they are centered and rooted in who they are by their essence. And the joy is internal, regardless of what's happening here. So that leader is able to listen to their team, or if you're a mom or dad at home, you can listen to your kids or your family, and you can be that calm in the storm. And when the dust settles, you're still that calm even when there's no parent storm. So you're still that same leader that can be relied on because you're operating in the essence of who you are because you've done the work, you've done the preventative work, so you're able to withstand regardless of what's happening. And when that snow is fluttering about, you can still see how you respond to things. Are you reacting or are you responding? Are you making intentional decisions so that you are that leader? And it doesn't mean that the snow is not affecting you because we're in these human bodies and we're affected by things, but it's what choices are we going to make? And you're able to get ready, get set and go when you are in the essence of who you are, when you've done the work in the go stage, when you've re-energized yourself and you're prepared for the trials and tribulations and the joys and the uplifts of life, so that you can go and deliver on your goals. And that could even be deeper where what did you come on earth here for? Like, what is your mission and vision as a human being? And I have a whole spiritual side too, which I don't really bring out. But since you talked about the Book of Joy,
Mhm.
that's a whole deeper level of maintaining who you are and why you're here to give
Mhm.
back to the community.
Mhm. That's so beautiful. So ready, set, go, we are. This conversation has been so impactful and so important. I feel like right now at this moment in time, so much more important than we could ever even understand. The frequency of joy, the movement of joy. I love the work you're doing in the world, Nicole. I thank you so much for bringing it to us. And so we're going to run out and grab the book, The Joyful Leader, and grab the assessment, which again, we're so grateful for you giving us the opportunity to do that. And I feel like we're going to have a 2.0. I feel like
Like,
we're going to have a follow up to this conversation because I really do feel at this time amplifying joy is the most important work any of us can do in the world.
you know what, Lori, I would love when we do this 2.0 is to hear from your guests after they take the assessment.
Ooh,
Like if
yes.
they could just, respond back to your
Mhm.
podcast. I don't know if they can write notes or respond back, but I would love to hear how the assessment resonates with them, what their one goal is that they're going to work on for the next 30 days. And that would be great to bring into the
Mhm.
conversation as well.
We will get those answers and we will come back and have that conversation. I love it. Is there anything else you want to leave us with?
I want to leave you with just whatever you're doing, add a little joy to it. You're already doing amazing things. And if you could just add a little sprinkle of joy to what you're doing, that's where the magic happens.
Thank you. We're going to sprinkle joy. And thank you so much for being here with us today.
Thank
So
you.
honored. What a beautiful reminder that joy, it's not a reward, it's a frequency that we can choose, cultivate, and lead from. Nicole's work is such a reflection of what sustainable embodied leadership truly feels like, grounded in purpose, fueled by joy, and led from alignment. If this conversation resonated with you, share it with another leader or visionary who's ready to expand into joy fueled success. And as always, stay ambitious, awakened, and aligned. Your frequency is your leadership.